Christina, you're looking not so great today.
I am stuck in the back rooms recording. I mean, in my sister's house.
Yeah. So if you're watching on video, the lighting on Christina's not so great as the other two of us. She is remote right now, and we might hear some kids in the background because you're babysitting our nieces right now.
Yes, they're still alive, so a success.
Yeah, we'll see.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Going Analog Show, a podcast in which industry guests come and talk about games and some topic they want to discuss. So this year we are talking to one of our favorite and our main Going Analog contributor, Henry Stenhouse. He has just finished, going to UKGE, which is a really great game convention in the United Kingdom. So I think you're like our once a year groundhog. You pop up about once a year, tell us about what's going on at UKGE. And so Henry also is a senior editor at Restart.Run, a video game channel. So excited to have you back as usual. Henry, hi.
Hello. Hi. Yes. Like most English people, I am a groundhog that lives underground. And then once a year, I pop up and play some board games, talk about them a bit, and then I will vanish again into the ether. But
I love that.
It's very nice that you've coincided the podcast with my yearly appearance.
Yeah, perfect. Works out. So tell us a little bit about UKGE. What does it stand for?
Yeah, very excitingly, UKGE is the UK Games Expo. Yes. So they chose a very flashy name for it. But I think it's because it's one of the longest running and it's easily the biggest board game convention, tabletop convention, I should say. It's got RPGs, miniatures, all kinds in the UK. And it's just keeps growing. This year was actually, I believe it's 20th anniversary, which is a real nice milestone. Yeah, and my wife and I have been going for, we actually don't know how many years, but probably at least 10 at this point. Yeah.
So that is going to be Henry's topic coming up. So we're excited to talk about it and learn about it because Shu and I have not been to UKGE, but we've been to, some stateside conventions and we'll compare and contrast, things like that. So stay tuned for that. And we want to feature some games as we normally do. So what's our game feature, Shu? Shu's also here, obviously, looking in a much better setting than I am if you're watching on video.
Thanks for that afterthought of an introduction, by the way.
You're just the best lit, though, so, everybody knows. You're best lit.
All right. Well, our game pick, so we're going to start with our game pick, is actually an expansion. So this is the original game, SETI. This is the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. And this is a heavy, somewhat complex strategy game from CGE. And it's about, basically, we're all scientists looking for signs of life in the universe or in the galaxy, solar system, really. So we're going out. Well, actually, it is a galaxy because you are searching other stars. So you're sending out probes to other planets in the solar system, looking for signs of life. You're doing scans of far off star systems and looking for signs of life. And eventually, what I love about this game is partway through, it could be halfway through to a third of the way through, you'll collectively as a group, it's not a cooperative game, but collectively as a group, you'll find enough bits of hints of life to be able to discover an alien species. And there's always two, but they're randomized and you don't know which ones you're going to discover until you actually get to that point in the game. And at that point in the game, when the one of the two and then the second alien species gets discovered, it will introduce new mechanics and new things to do to score points and such. It's a very, very cool game. Christina and I are big fans. So that's SETI. But sorry, Henry?
Oh, no, I can jump in just to say that I sadly haven't played this one yet, and I'm very envious that you've played it a lot, because it sounds exactly like my jam, but I'll get to it.
It's thematic. It has a lot of cool systems. It's very colorful and really nice looking on the table. Our friend Brian actually gave, so in the middle of the solar system, you actually have this little translucent dome that represents the sun. But our friend Brian had this idea of putting a little tiny light in there, and he gave us one, and you just light it up. It's just battery powered, and so now you have this brilliant little lit up sun in the middle of your table. But yeah, it's a fantastic game. And the game we're actually talking about today, our pick is actually City Space Agencies. So CGE sent us a copy of this. It came a little late because they actually sold out and were out of copies for the longest time. But then we got ours like a month or two ago, and we finally got it to the table. And the basic idea is these are the kind of expansions I like because it doesn't change a whole lot of the fundamental gameplay. And instead, the main offerings, it offers you a few more alien species, which should be expected. And that's great just for variety. If you've seen all the original five, you've gone
anyway.
Yeah. So there's a few, we don't want to spoil anything because part of the fun is discovering what these guys do, but they're very different. Like we've played, there's only one of them we haven't seen yet, but there's a couple that we've seen that they do change the gameplay quite a bit. They're very different from the aliens from the original set. But the other big kind of selling points is now you can have these companies. They're called organizations. There's 11 of them to choose from. So you can see here that I'm holding them on the screen. Basically, instead of just standard startups, like you have these cards will show your starting income, but they'll give you an asymmetrical power in a action or free action of some sort. So now all of us, like if the three of us were playing, everyone would have different additional free action to do. Like for example, this one is, you could gain the free action corner effect of a non-alien card you played this turn. So you use a card, you wouldn't use the corner effect normally, but this lets you also use the corner effect as well in those cards. So you get extra little bonuses in the game, like moving your probe further and things like that, or getting more publicity, which helps you get to other things in the game. Or there's also main powers, like something would trigger only for you. So this is really fun if you want to give your game an asymmetrical setup. But the other thing that people really like that we enjoy is a quick start, because as you would expect, this is a heavy game. It takes a long time. This quick start will just give you a few resources. Like this one gives you 3 tech and 3 publicity to start with. You'll randomize these and you'll pick some. A lot of them will just give you some starting bonuses, some data, some points right away to start with and things like that. Maybe a probe that's already starting out in space, so you don't have to build it and launch it. You already just get one, or a couple of scans into a couple of sectors just to get you started on some of those. So this is really nice because you get to choose, you get dealt a couple, you get to choose which one you want to start with based on your organization, so you can see how everything synergizes. But this just helps you get past the slow parts in the beginning of City where you're very poor. It takes a long time to build up to be able to build a probe and launch it and move it around or to scan. And now it's just like, oh, you can just get a few things right away. The game
you can do a lot of stuff even in the first round now, which is huge because it used to be like all right, I'm planning for all these things and I have to set it up and then I can't do much because I have so few resources. But now it's like a head start, super powered, like is amazing. We could do so many more things just in that first round. Loved it.
This reminds me so much of the Prelude, built-in expansion for Terraforming Mars, where like once you know the game, you kind of just want to get that little asymmetrical boost at the start to get everyone going. So it sounds a lot like you're kind of leaning towards this feeling like your complete version of the game with this expansion then.
I would always play with this expansion from now on. Like, it's still a fantastic game without it, but it's just so much more exciting to get going so quickly on that. And I think one of the people we played this with was new to the game, and she had no problem just jumping right in with these extra things. You just get more stuff in the beginning, which is great.
Yeah, and then our friend Daniel Walling from the Game Table on Instagram, we were doing a Heavy Games episode, and originally we were going to play with this, but we hadn't gotten our copy yet, so we didn't get a chance to play it. Then you can check out those recordings a few episodes ago. But he got a chance to independently play this. First-time player of SETI went straight into this, and he just thought this is a must include. Like, he's never played the original on its own, but just playing with Space Agency, he's like, I can't imagine not playing with it because it made it such an exciting start. Now, strangely, even though it's a quick start, the game actually recommends the instructions recommend that you only play 4 rounds instead of the normal 5. And I thought that was weird because I'm like, if you're skipping some of the beginning of the game, the build up, and you get to that point, why would you shorten the game as well? Like I would think philosophically you would keep the game the same length, but because you're more powerful right at the beginning, you have so many more options to you. And it actually, in a way, it does slow the game down in a good way, because you're just like, now I can do much more in the beginning rather than this slow slog of building up your engine. So we found like, wow, there's actually a lot to do even in the later rounds because of these quick starts and because of the organizations. So we're like, okay, 4 rounds is the right feel for now. It is a smart thing that they shorten the game by a full round. So that's, but yeah, I love this expansion. I think I agree with Christine. It's a must include for any future games of SETI.
Mm-hmm. You just sort of skip the slower first round. They're like, here we go. And Henry, you brought us a game too.
I have. I'm just going to go and say the name because it's quite funny. What I've brought is Spooky Goose, which I hope you can see there. I'm going to continue my tradition. For anyone who is a long-time reader or listener of Going Analog, you may remember me from ages ago recommending a game called Penguin Party. I love tiny little party games, and Spooky Goose, this is actually a Halloween-themed version of a game called Sneaky Goose, which I think is the core game. And it's basically a quite light memory party card game where each of you is dealt 4 of these little goose cards face down, and you are only allowed to look at 2 of them, and they have a range of numbers on them as well as silly geese, in this case, themed around various Halloween characters.
Like Murder Goose, as you do.
Zombie Goose, Horror Goose, all of them. And you have to remember what your 2 cards are. And then everyone in the game will take turns drawing cards from the deck and choosing whether to either play a card for its ability written on it or swap it with one of their cards in their little grid. You cannot look at your grid again after that initial check, so you have to keep everything in your mind as you're going. And as you might expect, a lot of the cards you play mess up both your grid and other people's grids. A lot of them are quite gentle, but then they throw in just enough like quite crazy ones that you can't have someone who's really good at memory constantly winning every game. But this sounds like a really, really, really simple game. And we actually got it as a joker initially. Like a friend just got it for a friend as this will be like fun to play one-off. And we ended up playing it basically an entire weekend, pretty much every morning and then late in the evening as well, because as you might guess, it gets more difficult if you've had alcohol to remember where your cards are. But we enjoyed it so much that when we went back to the UK Games Expo this year, we ended up running into the developers of it, designers of it there at the show. And they clearly had a lot of Halloween-themed copies to give away for cheap. So we ended up getting this one for a couple of quid, basically, on a spin the wheel thing. And then my wife and I have been finding excuses to play it since. And I have a group of friends that I play spooky horror games with, and now I feel like this is going to be a staple of that as well.
How many players can
just
you play?
Ease into your horror games.
Ooh, let me check. Yeah. 6 players is what it plays up to.
Okay. With the way you described it, I haven't played this game. It kind of sounds like Stool Pigeon, which is another small card game, numbers, and you have to kind of keep track of where cards are at so that you can play them at the right time. And that was a really fun game. I wonder if this has similar DNA there. But yeah, that sounds
possibly. Bird play. A lot of similar bird play.
I see. In terms of bird play, perhaps being a pun, I've forgotten to explain the game's best rule, which is that if you think you have the lowest number on your like grid at the start of your round, you have to honk loudly. And when we play, I insist it's not say the word honk. You need to honk like a goose. So I'm not going to do it now because I don't want to ruin your audio levels. But
you're leave perfected.
Yeah.
I think you do have to do it for us so we can, so our listeners can understand.
I've really set myself up for that, haven't I?
Uh-huh, yeah.
I'll put the goose on screen and give it a good.
I can tell it was a little restrained, but I see the potential. Mm-hmm.
My goose acting career needs work, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, the nice thing is that like the number of cards in here, they range from very high numbers to really like bizarre. There's several like negative numbers in there as well. So it's one of the ones that catches people out a lot when they think they're winning, where you can lose cards by like matching them. I don't know if that's the same in the pigeon game you're mentioning. If you know a card on the discard pile is the same as one in your or anyone else's grid, you can basically slam it and lose one of the cards from your grid to reduce your number and increase your chances of winning. But quite often we've had someone with only 2 cards left in their grid lose to someone with 4 just because they had much better numbers overall. So it's one of those little ones that surprises you a lot of the time.
That
Sounds
sounds
good.
fun. I love memory games, especially as an adult. I feel like kids have better memory than adults sometimes. And so games like Nana and Silver series, I love these games because it just gets funny at some point when somebody doesn't
that's
remember
not a hat?
something.
The one that Shu's the worst at?
Oh, that's not a hat. Yeah, have you played that one, Henry? That's not a hat?
No, I've played Nana. I haven't played That's Not a Hat.
Look for it. It's so dumb. And if I describe it to you, people should just look it up because we're getting off topic now, but look that up. It's a fantastic small 6-player party game that's all about keeping track of these cards that you've seen at one point and and you feel like this cannot be that hard. And it quickly devolves into people not remembering anything, making mistakes all the time. It's just hilarious.
My
it's
secret
a simple
strategy
thing,
in that game
yeah.
is that I'm not good at it, but Shu is worse. So if I point that out, people will go after him and ignore me. So
that's fiendish. Yeah, no, I think it's amazing that it never stops being funny when someone goes to reveal a card in any game like this and then is so confident that they know exactly what it is and it's something completely different. And I think that will never get old in any game design ever.
Yeah.
So, Henry, we have added in a new section, which you may have noticed was a trivia question of the show.
Uh-oh.
And so, of course, I've written you one too. So in your secret life before your illustrious video game career, you did get a PhD in physics, correct?
I did. Uh-oh.
Okay.
Am I getting a physics question?
Well, of course, because, I was thinking, physics-based game, the most physics-based games are dexterity games. Yeah.
Okay.
And so, one of the most popular and approachable games in the world is Jenga, been around for ages, designed by Leslie Scott. And so the name Jenga comes from a Swahili term, kujenga, which means which of the following. Let's see if you remember. May have asked this in a previous trivia question on our video.
This is an education for me.
But okay, so let's see if you know. So kujenga, Swahili word, what they named Jenga after, is A, to fall, B, to build, C, to balance, or D, to crash.
Ooh. I'm leaning between fall and crash because all of the knockoff versions of Jenga, of which there are myriad existence of knockoff ones, are all named something to do with the tower falling over. And I'd like to at least think that they've done the basic research of looking into which I haven't done, into what Jenga means or originates from. I'm going to go with the first one, to fall.
That's a good guess, which was my initial guess too. But it in fact means to build, because I think of it sort of like those memory games, right? You're the point is to memorize, but everybody remembers when you don't remember. And so Jenga actually means to build. So very fun story behind it. The designer, a British woman, I believe, she got these wooden blocks from when she was visiting Africa and was just playing with them with her kids and designed this game around them. So fascinating story. Should look it up now that you know nothing about Jenga. There you go.
And I think you have the right to take my physics PhD away now.
Yeah, it's true. That's how that goes.
That answer was the least likely one out of all those. I'm it's definitely not to build because that's the least important part of Jenga. That's just a setup.
You take it out and you build it to make it taller.
But that's not the game. That's just setting it up. So that was okay, I didn't know the answer. I'm that's clearly not it. It's one of the other three. So that's surprising.
Mm-hmm. I actually did hear this question in a pub trivia one night. So that sort of stuck with me too. So it's a thing.
I hope that will come up again in another pub thing, and I'll have a great story for where I learned it as well. And now we want to talk about UKGE itself because we have Henry here. And so for any listeners who haven't checked out our website, goinganalogshow.com, we have Henry's non-award awards for the UKGE, of course. Some fun reads, great pictures from it. And so you've mentioned you've been to UKGE for some uncountable number of times. Where do you think that falls? What number of times I've been to UKGE?
Yeah, if you had to estimate.
I think it's about 10. I'm trying to recall exactly, but yeah, I think it was around 2016 that we started going.
All right. Okay. And so, tell us about, mentioned it's growing bigger and bigger. It's been around about 20 years, which is amazing. What is it like when how many days is it? What's it like when you walk into the exhibit hall? How do they structure this con?
Sure. Yeah. So the UK Games Expo has actually changed a lot in the last few years to become what I imagine is much closer to your big conventions like Gen Con and such. This year was the highest total number of people. I think they had, I think it was 87,000 people total footfall across the weekend, and they listed something like 51,000 of unique people, which shows that people who like board games go for a lot of the weekend. It's a 3-day event, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And you can either go for one day, get just the weekend, or do the whole thing. And we always book off the Friday and do the whole thing because
nice.
If you get an excuse to spend the whole day weekend playing board games with friends, we'll go for it. But so it has kept growing. Board games in the UK have just gotten bigger and bigger over the last few years. And as a result, the event itself has gotten much bigger. When we started going, it had, I think, 2 halls where it's held in a place called the NEC, which is in Birmingham in the UK, if anyone listening knows that. And it's just a big convention center. And UKGE used to only have space for 2 of the halls, and there are 17 on that site. And since then, and up to this year, I believe they have 4 halls now. So it's doubled in size over that time. And they needed the extra halls, I'll say that much. The year before they expanded, it was so busy, so crowded with people. And now there's a lot more room, which is lovely.
Awesome.
But I haven't had the chance to go to Gen Con and such, so I can't make direct comparisons. But UKG's kind of stalls absolutely everywhere, as far as the eye can see. And then they're loosely sort of grouped into, you'll have different big publishers having their main central areas. So your Hachette, your Asmodee, and all of that jazz. And then all around the edges and everywhere, there's loads and loads of independent designers. There are so many at UKGE, which is one of my favorite things about it, is you can spend the entire weekend, if you want, just walking around and chatting to people who have maybe designed their first game, or have designed a couple themselves, or are there just running a stall with their family and things, and find out about their games. So it's a very big event now, but it still has that feeling of being very welcoming for small designers and small creators as well, which is really lovely. It's always had a very welcoming feel to me.
That's awesome. That's pretty close. I mean, Gen Con, I think last time I checked, was around 70,000 unique attendees over the Thursday to Sunday. So really, really big. And then must be pretty interesting because you'll get more of the, I assume, European creators and stuff like that at that point. So things we wouldn't see at Gen Con necessarily. So that sounds pretty much like Gen Con, at least the show floor part, right, Shu?
Yeah. So at Gen Con, it's not just board games. Board games are the highlight, really, and RPGs as well. There's a whole RPG scene that Christina and I are less familiar with, but there's also, at Gen Con, if you imagine walking through it, there's a whole artist alley, and there are just people selling books and art prints and things like that. As you're walking through, there's going to be tons of merch booths, tons of dice booths for some reason. They love selling dice there. And you could find places that are even selling comics and a little bit of other collectibles. I think there's a ton of trading card vendors as well. Is that similar to UKGE?
Yes and no. There's a lot of artist creative stuff. One of my favorite things that I didn't actually get to see at the expo, and immediately when it came up on my social media afterwards, and I was like, oh my God, I missed this, was a lady who makes teapots and cups. Yes, I'm British. I love tea. But she makes a gelatinous cube teapot. So it's a teapot that looks like a giant slime with bits of adventurer's gear in it and stuff.
Oh,
so there's definitely... Yeah, it was very cool. I think they were called House of Banshee. I need to go check it again. Not sponsored or anything by them. I just thought it looked cool. But there are a lot of creatives there. So lots of people, again, lots of dice, like you said, so many dice and candles and all kinds of things like that, clothing as well. Much less in the way of comic books, I would say, and trading cards. I didn't see much in the way of selling trading cards, but one of the halls at UKG is almost always kept for competitive tournaments for things like Disney's Lorcana, Warhammer, and various other card games, whatever's in vogue at the moment or been around for a long time. So they always have big miniatures and card games tournaments there that I think these days are getting streamed on Twitch and that lot that you can go watch.
Yeah, Gen Con has that as well. There's a giant event hall that's just like all the scheduled events or paid events and tournaments, and there's a lot of people playing it. And it is fun. We'd like to walk through it sometimes just to see all the giant miniatures. Because everyone's bringing in crates and crates of different terrain that they piece together to create a gigantic table that's a setting for some battle that's about to happen. And they have their units, their little strings and tape measures and rulers and whatever's going on. That's a very foreign world to me, but they're all playing these little tactical war games. So we have a giant hall full of that. And yeah, when I mentioned like comic book vendors and things like that, trading card, they're just kind of sprinkled in. That's not really, it's overwhelmingly Gen Con is probably 85% board games and then but just a sprinkling of all this other stuff. So it's not 100% board games, but yeah, it's a lot of fun. And you get to do the same things we love doing about Gen Con, which is you get to demo a lot of games, right? As opposed, like now you get a sampling of a bunch of different games versus just being stuck in long sessions of playing individual games.
Yeah, I'm actually interested to turn a question back on you after I explain this bit, which is that we have found over the many years we've been going to this expo that there is always sort of a hot game of the show that everyone is sort of clamoring for prior to it taking place, or midway through the first day, everyone's decided on like, this is the thing. We have basically never been able to play that game because there are never enough like play spaces. It's always like booked up with people.
Which one was over the years this year? Just to know.
This is the first year where I didn't even try and learn it. Which is like
what kind of reporter are you, Henry? I mean,
I can tell you that like it might have been last year or the year before. It was the White Castle when everyone was going wild for that. That might have been 2 years ago. But my wife and I kind of came to the decision that like we never get to play this game, and there's so much more stuff here that generally we've had a much better time basically going out of our way to avoid whatever people are really talking about and find everything else that we can go and play, spend lots of time playing. And I wasn't sure how that experience compares to American ones. Like, do you find that there is enough time and space to play whatever the big game is at the time?
I think the big thing at Gen Con is like when people, we will always be asking and talking to other convention goers and content creators, be like, what's the hot game? Like, what should we definitely check out? And so there's usually ways to check it out. It's very hard to buy it a lot of the time. So I think maybe some publishers, like they can only bring so many actual copies to the con. So they like parse it out over the 4 days of Gen Con. We're like, okay, we're going to have 200 copies each day show up when we open, and the first few people get it. First 200 people get it, So that's been manufacturing a lot of hype when you're like, I tried to get this and I can't. So I think that is a big aspect of what we notice at Gen Con.
Yeah, so I think Christine and I don't do as many scheduled events at Gen Con like we used to, because the first year we signed up for a bunch. We're like, it'd be fun to play this. It'd be fun to do this. But for the main exhibitor hall, the main expo hall, there's so much to see and there's so much to play that it's a bit annoying. And lately, as growing analog has grown, we have been having more meetings. Like a lot of publishers are asking for meetings because they want to show us the game, and they'll like ask for it, like, hey, can you come by for 30 minutes? And we'll schedule those. It's so annoying to be in this big giant hall with all these cool things to see and games to demo, to have to keep an eye on your watch to say, okay, we gotta go.
Minutes,
we have to be over here at the other side of the hall. 10 minutes, like, okay, it's 5 minutes. We got to stop what we're doing and head over because it's going to take us a while to get there. And we try to time it so similar or close by things are close to each other, because we could group them all together and not have to run back and forth. But sometimes you can't avoid it. So we stopped doing scheduled ticketed events so much, because that's yet another thing we have to keep track of and leave what we're doing to go be somewhere at a certain time. And I also don't know, because I remember one year I wanted to try, I'm like, I want to play Tigris and Euphrates. It's a game I've never got to try. It's very famous, Reiner Knizia game. And I'm like, I want to sign up and try it. But it's a 2-hour demo. And then by the time you're getting through in the thick of Gen Con, I'm like, And so I could demo 4 or 5 games in that time, maybe more. So I just I no-showed and didn't even bother because it's just hard to get to.
Those going analog people.
Yeah. But it's more like you said, like the hot games that you can buy. Those are the things that usually you can count on. I would, at least on our radar, maybe 2 to 6 games that are like, these are the hot things. Like we might have friends saying, can you pick this up for us? And we're like, no, we're not.
That's a big way that we know too, when we were asked to buy stuff.
Yeah. Everyone's messaging you to be like, can you buy this? Yes. No, you're spot on. They sell out very quickly at UKGE as well. I think last year it was Galactic Cruise, actually, if I'm remembering. I don't know if that was close at all at Gen Con. But we were lucky because we have not that big table space and that game is enormous. So we were like, well, we can't buy this anyway. So
yeah. So yeah, the hot games will sell out really quickly, and then we'll just try to. We may or may not. We usually won't bother waiting in line, and sometimes we might have the connections that we might be getting these games. Like the Gang, the year that came out, that was a very hot item, and it sold out. But because we were meeting with the publisher, we got a review copy anyway separately, so that was nice. So we do have some privilege there as being content creators and media, but yeah, I think. Maybe similar to what you're describing is like other cons like BGG Con. That one in the fall is timed to be right after Essenspiel, which is the world's biggest convention that takes place in Germany every year. And so a lot of these big conventions, for us, we know Gen Con does this, Essenspiel definitely does this, where that's when major releases may come out because the publishers time it for, we're going to debut our game at this show or have a pre-release at these shows because that's when we're going to just have this gigantic audience ready to buy these up and then bring them home and spread the word because we're all the early adopters going to these shows. But BGGCon fall happens right after that, and they have what they call a hot games room. And most conventions, I think, do this now, but these are like, hey, you can't buy these, and we're not going to put them in our normal library for people to check out and just sort of hoard for all weekend. But this is like a table. The game stays there. You can't take it with you anywhere. And you could just go up. If the table's free, you could go up and play a game. Sometimes I think they have reservation systems, but yeah, that's like typical, like, those are the ones where you might have trouble getting in because everyone's sort of queuing up to play these games all weekend.
Yeah, no, I mean, it sounds like they're very, very similar to them. I like the idea of a hot games room. I was kind of hoping that it was like a sauna where you play board games instead of just where the popular games are.
Cardboard, Henry, the cardboard.
Maybe just for RPGs then.
Okay. RPG and a sauna. Anyway.
No, this all is absolutely terrible. What are the things? So Christina mentioned you just did the non-award awards for UKGE. Mm-hmm. We always do it for Gen Con. This is our series where we award the less serious and irreverent stuff around the show. Last year, and I think we've done this a couple of years, we do always make a passive aggressive remark about the smells that go on. There's just, it's a lot of people, not everyone, and it's in Indianapolis, at least, it's warm and muggy outside. The con is air conditioned, but you just get some of these smells. The last thing I want is for more convention goers to be heated up to great high temperatures.
How are the smells at UKGE is what she was getting at.
Yeah, this is what people subscribe to the podcast for, right? It's the smell descriptions. Surprisingly, actually pretty good. In the early years, I think things were worse, especially as the halls got. No, I wouldn't say we're any better in terms of smells, but when the halls got busy, things it gets worse, obviously. But in the recent years we've been, it's all been air conditioned pretty well. This year, unfortunately, the air conditioning did fail one of the days, but they did get it back on later. But yeah, I actually can't, for once, I as someone who spends a lot of time in video game and board game spaces, which I feel like have a bad reputation for smells in rooms, UKG smell factor pretty good, I would say. Maybe it's just lots of artisans selling candles and other like scented beard oils and things.
So big picture wise, since we haven't been there, what were some of the who had the most impactful or impressive, setup at UKGE? What would you say?
Yeah. I would like to shout out Hachette for 2 years in a row. They actually haven't been a big player in the UKGE space, as it were, for many years. But the last couple of years, they have run what I think is the best stall at the show. They not only have a lot of space, but they really, really focused on just having lots of tables for people to try games. I talked to the people running the stall, both a mix of demoers, and had a very brief chat with the guy who runs the gaming section, Flav, I think it is, about it. And they very much have had the approach of, we don't want to have, a lot of places just have a big shop and that's their primary thing. And then they have a couple of tables to demo stuff. And their focus was much more on have lots of places to demo and make it really fun for all ages. So in the Hachette area, and tell me if this is the same in the US ones, but they had themed zones. So they had like a sort of pirate themed zone where they had several games that are sort of around pirate stuff. And they had a historical ancient history zone where they had pillars set up to make it look like ancient Greece or whatever. And in each zone, the demoers had outfits themed around them. So in the pirate area, they were dressed like pirates when they were giving you the demo talks. And last year we demoed, I don't know if you played Darwin. It's like I don't even entirely know how to describe it. You take Darwin's boat.
Yeah, Darwin's Journey. Yeah.
Darwin's Journey, is that it? Around a board, and you pick up tiles from the center, depending on which one you're in line with. And the demoers for that were all dressed like old-timey explorers, and it was just absolutely adorable. So Hachette have repeatedly made a very good impression with me, mainly because you actually just get to play games. So that some of the games we got to try and were interested in was like some of theirs. I can go on to explain some if you'd like.
I think, yeah, that's definitely what our listeners want to hear. Like, what are some specific games that you found that were really cool that people should look out for?
Sure. So the one that stuck with me a lot was Mythologies, which is a French game that I think it came out in France a couple of years ago, but it's only just being brought over as an English version soon. So they had a pre-release version of that, like an unfinished prototype. And it's the idea is you're building your pantheon of gods by drawing gods from a number of different pantheons. So they have a whole bunch, like your ancient Egyptian, Celtic, Hindu, even Inca, Norse, Zulu, a whole range of them. And you get sort of 4 in a game, so it shifts up each time. And they have a selection of god cards, and playing with everyone else, you'll compete by basically taking turns, picking from different pools of gods and adding them to your own 9-tile grid. And every god, when you add it to your grid, gets a different reward depending on where it's added. So like on the god card that you buy, it'll be like, if you place me in the top row, you'll get this. Or if you place me in the central column, or that kind of thing, and you get a different reward. And you have these sort of goals to fill out rows and columns. So you're sort of building up this grid. But at the same time, all of the gods have their own weird interacty powers. Like one, when you place it, might sacrifice another one from a particular row, or it might move down. And if you move a god on top of another god, it crushes that god, which sounds quite cruel and nasty. But they're all different ways of getting points.
So you're nasty. So
yeah. To be fair, but it ended up sort of creating this whole thing where we sat down and you're like, okay, the premise is quite simple. You just take one card from whichever one of these pantheons you're picking from that turn, and you choose to put it in one of 9 spaces. But the more you added to your grid, the more you sort of unfolded with different combinations where some would move different things or stack on top of other ones. And I think like in my final turn in that game, I put Anubis from the ancient Egyptian one into the bottom row. And because he is the god of the underworld, thematically he gets like a lot more stuff if you were able to put him in your bottom row. And that like shifted all of my other things around so that they ended up bumping each other and sacrificing stuff and gaining a bunch of bonuses. And it very much had that kind of like experience of, I'm going to try doing this little thing. Oh, and that's got me this other thing. And that chains into this in very quick and satisfying ways where you feel like you're discovering new rewards as you go. And it was definitely the one where I was really hopeful that I would be able to buy it, but then we talked to them and they were like, it's not out yet. It's not coming out for a little while. And the version we played was slightly unfinished prototype, so it didn't have like the as nice cardboard sheets for the game board. But I didn't know if you've heard of that one before, but it was a complete new game to me.
It looks pretty awesome. So yeah, definitely in our wheelhouse for sure. Like combos, that sounds really, really exciting. And the art looks really good. So just looking it up right now.
That's Mythologies, right?
That's right.
Plural.
Yes.
Yeah, I wonder if it's coming out in North America. It does sound.
Hachette's a big publisher over there. Yeah.
Hachette has a US branch, so we're going to look into that and see if we can look at that game, since we've got the Henry going analog sort of suggestion here, recommendation. Anything, and then, feature some really fun, quirky games in your non-award awards. So anything else that you're like, keep an eye out for this. Like, and it could be like little, it could be big. What else sort of stood out for you?
Yeah, the one that I would say that I was most hoping to get a chance to play and I didn't get to, but I think looks absolutely fantastic and I believe featured in my award piece was Personal Demons, which has the brilliant setup of being like a therapy ritual game in which you are literally summoning your personal demons in order to then banish them. And my understanding of how this works, because I didn't get to play it at the show, but I spent a while just admiring the pieces of it while other people were playing, is that it's sort of like I'm not sure the exact term from it, but like it's not quite tile, but like tile placement thing where you're trying to fill out a grid that's of different things of different sizes to fill out your own ritual circle, which is your main board is a big circle sheet. And you're basically putting different demons into it and trying to align them such that these sigils between them are completed. And then that allows you to like lock them in and banish the demon, as it were. But the art for the game is phenomenal. That was the thing that immediately got me over to the table and spent a while just like looking at it, chatting to the people behind it. So do look it up if you're listening, because it's very, very pretty. Along with that concept. And then I just liked the way they'd incorporated thematic little things. So one of the things a resource that you build up in that game is sin, and then you spend it to, I think, summon bigger demons that you can then put in and lock away. But in general, I just loved the concept of the game, made me laugh. And then when you see a game like that has a great idea behind it, and it's also pretty, I feel like I have to go try it out. So I'm very much looking forward to that one, even though I didn't get to play it.
Awesome. It sounds like the designer, Judson Cohen, is also the artist. So one of those does both things. So that sounds really fun. And I was curious,
Personal demons, right?
Personal demons.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I was curious because a big thing at Gen Con is there is a huge gaming hall that stays open, I think, the whole night, where you can just play games and hang out and stuff. What's that scene like at UKGE?
Yeah, it's very similar. They have a board game library. I assume they do it at Gen Con as well, where even if you haven't bought any games or brought some with you, you can go there and just rent out games. I don't even think you actually have to pay permanent money, as it were. You can pay a deposit, essentially, to take games out of the UKGE library in these play spaces and then go and play them in the evening, which means it's really nice if you want to test a few games. Obviously, all of the if they have anything that's been a recent hit, that will get taken out very quickly. So it's not the best place to go if you want to play something hot and new. But your Tigris and Euphrates, for example, something like that is a great chance in the evening to be like, hey, we can all go play this together, even if none of us own it. But in general, those evening things where they just have a big hall, they keep it open until 10 o'clock at night at UKGE. That's been honestly my favorite time of the expo, because for all the fun of going to walk around and see the new stuff, the more time you spend playing board games and in the board game space, the more I think as adults, I just appreciate getting to spend time with different friends and play games together. And it's so rare that you get to do that in an atmosphere where you're surrounded by so many people who are all there for the same reason and enjoying themselves. So that kind of finishing the day in the hall and then going over to one of the play spaces and just hearing all the bustle of everyone having a nice time together and unwrapping new things that they've bought is probably one of the best things about expos for me in general.
Cute. 10 is early, I think, though. But
really?
Yeah. I mean, there have been times we started games after Gen Con at midnight. A very poor choice was starting Root at 12:30 a.m. once. So it's not
First
a good
time
idea.
Play for everybody.
Oh my goodness.
Regrets, we've had a few. But so are there people who try to do overflow elsewhere?
Absolutely.
Yes.
No matter where we have like booked to stay for UKGE, and you can either book in Birmingham, like the city itself is separated from the convention area, but it's not too hard to get to. Wherever we have stayed, when you go there in the evening afterwards, there will be people playing games in like the hotel lobby. Like, yeah, so we will come back at get back to the hotel at like 10:30 in the evening, and all or at least half of the tables in the hotel lobby will have groups all sitting playing whatever they've bought that day, which is a nice way of sort of that atmosphere flowing over into the other areas of the city.
That's awesome. Then one of our favorite memories was our very first Gen Con, where, like you said, you're surrounded by people here who want to play board games. And we were at this like very swanky little inn where they had a gaming spot, and we had just purchased Abyss, this new game, didn't know how to play it, and just started opening and punching, and somebody walks by, is like, hey, do you want me to teach you this game? And we're like, yes. And so,
wow, after a full day.
Amazing. Yeah. So that's what I've always loved about Gen Con. These people, like, most of the time you're just around a lot of like-minded folks, and everybody's like pretty supportive and chill about things. So with some exceptions, but most of the time it's great.
one of my firm memories of UKGE is in one of the earliest years my wife and I went. We just sat down at a demo table, and it was for a game that had more spaces. And if you don't know, at these conventions, when there are open spaces at the table, a lot of the time demos will be like, do you mind if these other people join so that we can get more people in? And a father and his child, who I'm going to guess she was about maybe 10 years old, maybe younger, sat down opposite us. And the first thing that her dad said to us was, just to warn you, she's very good at board games. And we were like, oh, okay. And then this 8 to 10-year-old proceeded to just wipe the floor with us on this game that we'd never played before. And we've never forgotten it since, of just being humbled by a child at the UK Games Expo.
That's cute. We're almost out of time, but do you want to do a quick fire, just a few more games that you think people should check out? Just a really rapid bunch.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. So another cool one that I didn't get to demo, but did have a big chat with, which you can read about in the article, is Aridnik, which is a Ukrainian board game that was based all around folklore of a group called the Hutzul people, who live in a mountain, like historically live around a mountain range called the Carpathian Mountains. But the demoers just gave this amazing story about the folklore and all these different cool creatures involved in it. That's well worth doing a read up on, and made me want to go and basically get stories set around them and everything. It's fascinating. Another game that I thought looked fantastic, but also isn't out yet, was a game called Shug. That's SHUG. And this is also features in the list because they had 3 people dressed sort of like modern medieval bards. They were like medieval bards with sunglasses on, who narrated to a fiddle the rules of the game as they were explaining it. And it's a mix of, as far as I'm aware, competitive dungeon delving with party game stuff where you'll encounter or get allies that then force you to do sort of party game things while you're playing the dungeon crawler. Again, lovely art and looked really, really, really good. I've got more. I can fire off more. I don't want to waste time if you're busy.
Let's do 2 more.
Okay, 2 more. One that's been at the expo for a while, and I don't know if this is over in the US, is a game called Thieves, which is an abstract board game that looks very much sort of like a classic board game. So it fits in next to games like backgammon and that kind of thing, where you're playing one-on-one, head-to-head game where you're trying to steal a token from the middle of like a grid of labyrinth things, and you have a number of your own tokens that are thief tiles, and you have to roll a die that just comes up on colored faces. So all of this feels very like your sort of like classic, not that advanced board games. But it ended up being this very strategic sort of positioning thing where it's that just the right level of like strategic positioning of a bunch of tokens to get to this centerpiece and nab this thing before your opponent does, mixed with the luck of the dice roll, sometimes just not giving you what you need to move around this labyrinth because you have to roll the colors of the doors you're trying to get to. And we were quite surprised by it because abstract board games aren't always my kind of jam. I like a lot of theme in my games, but both my wife and I really, really enjoyed it. We didn't pick up a copy because the friends we were there with did, and we were like, we will borrow theirs and play it. But it was very cute because it's just the designer running it with his daughter and his brother, who all like play and test the game with him, which I always love to see.
And one final one.
Oh yeah, one final one. Are you aware of Alte: Dawn of Civilization?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, so that at the year before was one of the games that we were like, this looks fantastic, but they didn't actually have it available to play or that we could find. And this year we did get the chance to sit down and play it. And it's another game that just has, in my opinion, absolutely gorgeous art design to it.
So, on that, yeah.
I actually thought it was too pretty because when we first sat down, the board for the record, this is a sort of like area control strategy game mixed with a deck building game. So you're building up cards that let you do things like build towns and things on the board, or like attack your opponent's places. But the board is so beautiful and all this sort of like, I don't even know how you would describe it, what words you would use to describe the sort of paint style of it, but it's so pretty that I actually found it difficult to tell where different spaces on it began and ended,
that
which
can be a problem.
Can be an issue for games, yeah. But the more we played it, the more I understood it, and it's this very not too complicated. It's like rather than being a game where you're creating a really massive engine, it's one of those ones where when you draw your hand, usually you're just working with what you've got that turn and figuring out the best way to implement it, instead of setting up a system where you're drawing through your entire deck and then getting the same perfect hand every time. And that's much more my style of deck builder. So definitely enjoyed that as well.
It's so beautiful that words can't even describe it properly when you do it justice.
Exactly.
Thanks so much for sharing your highlights of UKGE. We will wake you up next year when it's about to happen again.
Out of the ground, out of the cryo freezer. Yeah.
And where can people follow the gaming that you're doing, Henry?
Sure, yeah. I mean, most of my work outside of going analog and talking about board games is to do with video games, although I try my best to chat about board game, video game overlap when I can. And that is on restart.run. You can see a lot of my face if you really want to on our social platforms. So look up restart.run or restart run on Instagram and TikTok and all of those things. Or follow me on Blue Sky, where I think I'm Ferno Facebook. It might just be Henry Stenhouse. You can probably find me on either.
So look up one of them, and one of them might be him. So check out Henry. We look forward to your next article for us. And thanks so much to our editor extraordinaire, Mike Zipkin. Thanks so much for listening. And if you've been to UKGE, tell us about it, because Shu and I haven't been. And you can compare with Henry. Thanks so much for listening. And now you can stop listening, go play a game. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.